the phantom intruder of San Jose. It was a quiet night in San Jose. The streets were empty, and the only sound was the distant hum of cars on the freeway. Inside her small house, Lisa sat on her couch watching TV. She was home alone. Her husband was away on a business trip, and her kids were staying at their grandma's. Lisa yawned and checked the time. Midnight. She decided to go to bed. She turned off the TV, locked the doors, and made sure all the windows were shut. The house felt safe. She climbed into bed and closed her eyes. The house was silent, except for the ticking of the clock in the hallway. Lisa drifted off to sleep. Then, at exactly 3 a.m., she woke up. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was sharp and clear. Someone was knocking on her bedroom door. Lisa sat up, her heart pounding. "Hello?" she called out. No answer. Maybe she had imagined it. She lay back down, but then knock, knock, knock. Louder this time. Lisa's hands shook as she reached for her phone. She turned on the flashlight and pointed it at the door. "Who's there?" she demanded. Silence. She took a deep breath and got out of bed. Her bare feet touched the cold floor as she stepped closer to the door. With a trembling hand, she turned the knob and yanked the door open. Nothing. The hallway was empty. The house was dark and still. Lisa checked the kids' rooms, the bathroom, even the closets. No one was there. She checked the front door, still locked. The windows, still shut. "I must be dreaming," she whispered. She went back to bed, but left the hallway light on, just in case. Lisa closed her eyes again, but sleep wouldn't come. The air in the room felt heavy, like something was watching her. Then she heard it. A soft, scratching sound, like fingernails dragging across wood. Her eyes flew open. The noise was coming from above her. Slowly, she looked up, and there it was. A pale, bony figure clung to the ceiling like a spider. Its skin was stretched tight over its bones, its sunken eyes black as coal. Its mouth hung open, revealing jagged yellow teeth. Lisa screamed. The creature tilted its head, staring at her. Then, with a sickening crack, its limbs twisted, and it crawled across the ceiling toward her. Lisa scrambled out of bed and ran for the door. She didn't look back. She didn't stop until she was outside, gasping for air on her front lawn. She called the police. When they arrived, they searched the house. No broken windows, no open doors, no signs of anyone inside. But Lisa knew what she saw. The next day, she asked her neighbors if they had heard anything strange. To her shock, they had. Old Mrs. Garcia said she once saw a shadowy figure in her hallway. Mr. Thompson heard knocking on his walls late at night, and the Ramirez family's dog barked at something invisible in their backyard. Something was in their neighborhood, something that shouldn't be there. That night, Lisa stayed at a hotel. She couldn't go back, not yet. But as she lay in the unfamiliar bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. And then, at exactly 3 a.m., she heard it again. Knock, 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 right on her hotel room door. The Black Identity of El Segundo. Jake moved into an old apartment in El Segundo, California. The rent was cheap, and he didn't mind the creaky floors or the flickering lights. But on his first night, something felt wrong. As he lay in bed, the room grew colder. A shadow moved near the closet. Jake sat up, his heart pounding. Two glowing red eyes stared at him from the darkness. A tall black figure stood at the foot of his bed, its face hidden in shadows, except for those horrible eyes. "Jake," it whispered, its voice like nails on glass. He froze. The figure leaned closer, and Jake felt its icy breath on his face. Then, it vanished. The next morning, Jake found 3 long scratches on his arm. He hadn't done it. He tried to forget about it, but the next night, it happened again. The shadowy figure returned. This time, It whispered his name over and over. Jake tried to scream, but no sound came out. The thing reached for him, its long fingers brushing his skin. When he woke up, new scratches marked his chest. Jake's neighbors heard his screams. They knocked on his door, but when they entered, the apartment was empty, except for Jake, shaking in his bed. "There's something in here with me," he told them. They thought he was crazy. Night after night, the black-eyed entity returned. It whispered, it scratched, it watched. Jake stopped sleeping. Dark circles formed under his eyes. He looked sick, like something was draining his life away. One neighbor, Mrs. Lopez, heard Jake screaming again. She called the police. When they arrived, Jake was gone. His apartment was empty, except for deep claw marks on the walls and a single bloody handprint near the bed. No one ever saw Jake again. Some say he ran away. Others whisper that the black-eyed entity took him. But if you ever visit that old apartment in El Segundo, lock your doors at night, because sometimes in the darkness, two red eyes still glow, waiting. The girl who disappeared in my truck. The truck's engine hummed as Jake rolled down Highway 101 near Santa Barbara. The night was dark, the road empty except for the glow of his headlights cutting through the fog. He sipped his coffee trying to stay awake. That's when he saw her. A young woman stood by the side of the road, her white dress fluttering in the cold wind. She held out her thumb, asking for a ride. Jake wasn't the type to pick up hitchhikers, but something about her made him slow down. Maybe it was the way she looked so lost, or maybe it was the strange feeling in his gut. He pulled over and rolled down the window. "You okay?" he asked. The girl nodded. Her face was pale, her dark hair damp from the fog. "Can I get a ride? Just to the next town?" Jake hesitated, then unlocked the door. "Hop in." She slid into the passenger seat, her dress rustling softly. The air inside the cab grew colder, like winter had suddenly crept in. Jake turned up the heat, but it didn't help. "Thanks," she said, her voice quiet. "I've been waiting a long time." Jake glanced at her. "Out here? At this hour?" She didn't answer. Instead, she stared out the window, her fingers tracing the glass. "Do you believe in ghosts?" she asked suddenly. Jake laughed nervously. Not really." "Why?" She turned to him, her eyes sad. "Sometimes people don't know they're gone." A chill ran down Jake's spine. He focused on the road, gripping the wheel tighter. "What's your name?" he asked, trying to change the subject. "Emily," she said. Silence filled the cab. The radio crackled with static, even though Jake hadn't touched it. He reached to adjust it, but Emily spoke again. "It was raining that night," she whispered. "The car slid off the road. I didn't see the tree until it was too late." Jake's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" Emily looked at him, her eyes filling with tears. "I died here in 1973. Jake's breath caught in his throat. He turned to her, but the seat was empty. Emily was gone. Only a freezing cold spot remained where she had been sitting. His hands shook as he pulled the truck over. He searched the cab, but there was no sign of her. No door had opened. No one had left. Jake drove straight to the nearest diner, his mind racing. He needed coffee, light, people, anything to shake off the fear crawling under his skin. The waitress poured him a cup, eyeing his pale face. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she joked. Jake swallowed hard. "You ever hear about a girl named Emily dying on this road?" The waitress froze. Then she sighed. "Yeah, Emily Walsh. She was in a car crash back in the 70s. They say her ghost still hitchhikes on rainy nights, trying to get home." Jake's coffee turned cold in his hands. He thought of Emily's sad eyes, her damp hair, the way the air had turned icy around her. He never drove Highway 101 at night again, but sometimes when the fog rolls in, Truckers swear they see a girl in a white dress standing by the road, waiting for her next ride home. The cursed apartment of San Diego. Emily had always wanted to live on her own. When she got accepted to college in San Diego, she found a cheap old apartment near campus. The paint was peeling and the floor creaked, but it was all she could afford. The landlord, Mr. Harris, gave her the keys with a strange smile. "It's quiet here," he said. "Perfect for studying." But it wasn't quiet. The first week was normal. Then one night, Emily heard something strange. It was midnight, and she was studying at her desk. Suddenly, a child's giggle echoed in the hallway outside her door. Her blood turned cold. She lived alone. There were no kids in the building. She opened the door and peeked out. The hallway was empty. "Just my imagination," she whispered, trying to calm herself. But the next night, it happened again. This time, the giggling was right outside her bedroom door. Emily's hands shook as she pulled the covers over her head. She didn't sleep at all. A few nights later, something worse happened. Emily woke up suddenly, her heart pounding. The room was freezing. She sat up and reached for her phone to check the time. 3:03 a.m. Then she heard it. Scratch, scratch, scratch. Something was crawling under her bed. Emily froze. Her breath came out in shaky puffs. The scratching turned into slow, dragging movements, like tiny fingers moving across the floor. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Then, silence. After what felt like hours, Emily finally gathered the courage to look. She leaned over the edge of the bed. Nothing. Relieved, she collapsed back onto her pillow. Maybe she had imagined it. But when she turned toward her mirror, her stomach dropped. Tiny smudged handprints covered the glass. The next morning, Emily stormed into Mr. Harris's office. "There's something wrong with my apartment," she yelled. "I hear a child laughing at night and there were handprints on my mirror." Mr. Harris went pale. He sighed and rubbed his face. "I was afraid this would happen." "What do you mean?" Emily demanded. He hesitated, then spoke in a low voice. 30 years ago, a little boy lived in that apartment with his family. One night, he disappeared. They never found him. Emily's blood ran cold. "You mean he died there?" Mr. Harris nodded. "Some say his spirit never left." That night, Emily packed her bags. She wasn't staying another minute in that cursed apartment. As she hurried toward the door, the giggling started again, louder this time. Then a small shadowy figure darted across the hallway. Emily screamed and ran. She never went back. But sometimes at night, she still hears the faint sound of a child's laughter and wonders if the little boy is still looking for someone to play with. If you like the video, please give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Also hit the bell icon so you never miss an update.